Hello everyone, welcome back to ELC-Studies, and I am here with another amazing topic from History of English Literature. Today we will discuss about the third part of Classical Age of Johnson, and from 1744 to 1784. The later half of the 18th century, which was dominated by Dr. Samuel Johnson, is called the Age of Johnson. Johnson died in 1784, and from that time, the classical spirit in English literature began to give place to the Romantic spirit. Though officially the Romantic age started from the year of 1798, when Wordsworth and Coleridge published the famous lyrical ballads, even during the age of Johnson, which was predominantly classical, cracks had begun to appear in the solid wall of classicism, and there were clear signs of revolt in favor of the Romantic spirit. This was specially noticeable in the field of poetry. Now there is a question that why Age of Johnson is called Age of Transition. Most of the poets belonging to the Age of Johnson may be termed as the precursors of the Romantic revival. That's why the Age of Johnson is also called the Age of Transition in English literature. The Age of Johnson in English poetry is an age of transition and experiment which ultimately led to the Romantic revival. Its history is the history of the struggle between the old and the new, and of the gradual triumph of the new. The greatest protagonist of classicism during this period was Dr. Johnson himself, and he was supported by Goldsmith. In the midst of changes, these two held fast to the classical ideals, and the creative work of both of them in the field of poetry was embodied with the classical spirit. Characteristics of classical poetry. It was mainly the product of intelligence and was especially deficient in emotions and imagination. It was chiefly the town poetry, and it had no love for the mysterious and supernatural or what belonged to the dim past. Its style was formal and artificial. It was written in the closed couplet, and it was fundamentally didactic. It insisted on the writer to follow the prescribed rules and imitate the standard models of good writing. The new poetry, which slowed romantic learnings, was opposed to all these points. For instance, its chief characteristics were it encouraged emotion, passion, and imagination in place of dry intellectuality. It was more interested in nature and rustic life rather than in town life. It revived the romantic spirit love of the mysterious, the supernatural, and the dim past, and it opposed the artificial and formal style and insisted on simple and natural forms of expression. It attacked the supremacy of the closed couplet and encouraged all sorts of metrical experiments. Its subject was not didactic, but the expression of writer's experience for its own sake. It believed in the liberty of the poet to choose the theme and the manner of his writing. Let's talk about Samuel Johnson. 1709 to 1784. He was a literary director of his age. He was a man who struggled heroically against poverty and ill health, who was ready to take up cudgels against anyone, however high he might be placed, but who was very kind and helpful to the poor and the rich. Cudgels is basically a weapon you used against someone, and he was an intellectual giant and a man of sterling character. An account of all these qualities, he was honored and loved by all, and in his poor house gathered the foremost artists, scholars, actors, and literary men of London, who looked upon him as their leader. Johnson's best known works are his dictionary and lives of poets. He contributed a number of articles in the periodicals The Rambler, The Idler, and The Rascals. He set a model of prose style which had rhythm, balance, and lucidity, and which could be imitated with profit. In doing so, he preserved the English prose style from degenerating into triviality and feebleness, which would have been the inevitable result of selvishly imitating the prose style of great writers like Edison by ordinary writers who had not the secret of Edison's genius. The model was set by Johnson, and the chief characteristics of Johnson's prose style is that it grew out of his conversational habit and therefore it is always clear, forceful, and frank. We may not sometime agree to the views he expresses in the lives, but we must be impressed by his boldness, his wit, wide range, and brilliance of his style. Let's talk about Brooke, who was the most important member of Johnson's circle. He was a member of parliament for 30 years, and as such, he made his mark as the most forceful and effective orator of his time. Effective orator means the person who speaks in a convincing way. And he was a man of vast knowledge. He was the greatest political philosopher that ever spoke in the English parliament. Brooke's chief contributions to literature are the speeches and writings of his public career. The earliest of them were Thoughts on the Present Discontent, 1770. In this work, Brooke advocated the principle of limited monarchy which had been established in England since the Glorious Revolution in 1688. When James II was made to quit the throne and William of Orange was invited by the Parliament to become the King of England with limited powers. When the American colonies ruled over revolted against England and the English government was lying to suppress that revolt, Brooke vehemently advocated and delivered two famous speeches in Parliament. The political speeches and writings of Brooke belong to the sphere of literature of a high order because of their universality. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't subscribed our channel yet, please subscribe so that we come up with an upgraded and emerging versions of videos.